Salat. I'm the CEO for Hass Petroleum Group. Hass Petroleum Group is an indigenous Kenyan African company that operates in 9 African countries. We've got our headquarters in Dubai, and we'll say we proudly African, serving African, giving them the best service possible as far as the fuel sector is concerned.
The petroleum sector is a huge one, but where do you play? What kind of products, and these 9 countries, which countries are those?
Good. So when it comes to product, we play in the downstream business. We are providing or selling already refined product, that is diesel, petrol, jet, or the aviation sector. We've also got the LPG, the cooking gas, and we've got the lubricant, our own Hass brand of lubricants that we sell in these 9 countries. So you mentioned about the countries. Probably it's good to hear about the journey.
Yes.
So the journey of Hass Petroleum is a journey that started here in Kenya, where we are today, in Nairobi, that has grown to all those 9 African countries.
97. Let's start from there. Over these 25 years, but let's really start from day one.
Good. As you said, 1997 is the year. And historically, I think the interesting part of what happened is 97, 98 is when we've got the huge rain that is famously known as the El Nino. It had a devastating impact, across Africa and the rest of the world. It has destroyed infrastructure and so on. So in 1997, we've owned a fleet of 2 trucks that used to do transportation of fuel for one of the oil marketing companies those days, a multinational brand. And in 97, we only used to transport fuel from Nairobi to Kisumu. And I'm sure you know the history and the geography there. So 1997, post El Nino, the roads were destroyed. They were literally impassable. And we lost business. There was no fuel to transport. And luckily, that is where the founders, the 2 brothers, Abdirazak and Abdi Nasir, the late brother Abdirazak and Abdi Nasir, who is our current chairman, saw an opportunity. And the opportunity was to move away from being just a transporters, but buy product from that oil marketing company those days and transport it all the way to Kisumu, only to sell back to the same company at a profit. We've done that for quite a while, a few months, I guess. Then, of course, after the rain and after the fixing of the roads, that business was no more. The company that we used to buy from them and sell back to them was not possible. We either go back to our old business of being in transport or see the opportunity and do the business of competing with them. And luckily they took the turn, and the best turn. We set up our first petrol station in Kisumu. It's a petrol station that is very dear to us. To date, it's still there. It's called Kibuye, right next to Konde. What was the name of the slums? Yeah. So Kisumu for us is where it all started. We opened our first petrol station, and from there, the idea was to grow and become an oil marketing company of our own. Unfortunately, this is where again we face the next challenge, because in those good old days in Kenya, there was what we call the Kenya Refinery, KPRL, in Mombasa. So for you to be an oil marketing company, you had to buy product from the refinery. For your information, there's a huge pipeline that moves from Mombasa to Nairobi, to Kisumu, to Eldoret, to Kisumu, and all those places. So there's what we call line fill. So there's a product that is stuck in the line always. So the line fill belongs to the oil marketing companies. So if you are a new oil marketing company, you have to pay your portion of the line fill. You have to buy product from KPRL. And that means you will buy what they are refining then, plus the product that they have ordered. So the costs of becoming an oil marketing company was so prohibitive, exorbitant, and I think that was the only way to keep away competition. So we moved away from Kenya, and we went to Tanzania, to Uganda. That's the year 2000. Between 2000 and 2003, we've already set up ourselves in Tanzania, Uganda, in South Sudan. We're part of DRC. And something interesting happened back at home in 2002. There was a change of regime. And politically, I think at times it's good to go through these changes, because new people come with new ideas. So these barriers to entry were eased post-2002.
So as you've grown, I think one thing we notice is you've gone into some, what I can call marginal countries, you know, DRC, early 2000, not many corporates that were operating in Kenya were in DRC. You've gone into Zambia, you've gone into Somalia, into Somaliland. Is it just the DNA of the company that you're looking for these marginal areas? How tough is it to operate in some of these places?
Thank you. That's a good question. First, if you look at our logo, we say servicing new frontiers.
Yes.
And the dream of this company is to serve where many don't dare. That's not to say we run away from, you know, the easy ones.
Yes.
We compete quite effectively in a mature market like Kenya and Uganda. Today, Hass Petroleum, and this is something that you can confirm for yourself, if you see those cylinders, those are unique cylinders. Those are called composite cylinders.
Oh, yeah.
These are the only cylinders where they are non-explosive, they don't burst, which is one of the biggest fear. They are translucent. You can see the level of the gas, so there are no surprises. Mommy telling you, oh, the gas is over.
Oh, yeah.
They are very light. I wish we had the opportunity to go out and check it. This kind of product has not been provided by even who is who or our competitors. So we're the first to provide that kind of service. So what I'm trying to say is we compete quite effectively in even mature markets or provide solutions and products that many have not. But that said and done, we also see, you know, the Kenyans, say in Marsabit, or the farthest corner, Mandera, or Wajir, or where, deserve to enjoy the same service as someone in Nairobi. So we will see us giving a lot of priority to the frontiers, whether it is in a country or whether it's a specific country. So as you mentioned, we are in DRC. And DRC, we are quite well known for giving very efficient service to the mining companies. We are the biggest oil marketing company in South Sudan. So we are in South Sudan post even their independence. When they were celebrating their independence, we donated, you know, 1 million liters that time, just for them to enjoy that good day. And to date, you know, we give an excellent service. We've never, you know, moved out of South Sudan. Not to mention Somalia, as you mentioned. So these are tough markets. We face quite a lot of challenges. You know, you'll face the security challenges. You'll face the availability of dollar challenges or the devaluation of their currency and so on. These are challenges that keeps me awake as the CEO of this company. But all that said and done, I always call them, these are market of opportunities as well.
What are maybe 1, 2, 3 things that you're really proud of? Is it the people you have here? Is it the markets you serve? What are you really proud of as a CEO as you sit?
Look, we are in a service industry. And if I was to mention what I'm proud of, and I like you mentioned it, the number one thing I'm really proud of is the 2,000 plus employees who work for Hass Petroleum, who go out every day to make sure, you know, they give the best of services to you as a customer. This is something that I'm really proud of. But as you mentioned, you are never as good as you are without your customers.
Oh, yes.
The people who really believe in us, the people who believe in our product, who come, get service and come back again and again. And I can't mention, you know, there are many of them. So I'm quite proud of my people who I work with, and more importantly, the customers that I serve every day.
This market has changed. You've talked about 97, barriers to entry. There are lots of new regulations. We've got the Petroleum Regulatory Authority. If you were to advise some other indigenous people who would also want to get into this sector that has been dominated largely by multinationals, what would you advise them to do?
Nice one. Honestly speaking, as you said, there has been a lot of transformation in this industry. We came from a period when this market was dominated by 90% multinationals. Yeah? And slowly we've seen the emergence and growth of local brands, indigenous Kenyan-owned brands, if I talk about Kenya specifically, and they've been doing quite well. Of late, we've also come across the re-emergence of multinationals, where big brands that used to exist, I'll take the example of Kenol Kobil, a local brand that used to be there, are no more, and they're bought out by multinationals. And I guess I will say a local brand or an indigenous brand or an African brand is best placed to provide services and goods in Africa, because we know how we think. Look, I was telling the other day someone, if you walk to my petrol station, honestly, maybe you just lost your way and you want to confirm how to go about it. As a Kenyan, I will walk to you, give you this small bottle of water, especially if you're in a very hot kind of environment, probably the tropical suite, before you even ask me direction and say, hey, come, welcome, and I give you water. I know how your mentality will act. You know, you will feel too ashamed to just ask me the direction. Probably you'll ask me, can you put for me some 500? But by the way, what is the way to the supermarket, you know? So we are Africans. We know how we think. We know how we want to be served and how, you know, the kind of product we want to be given. So personally for me, and there's so many local brands, only that they have not reached to the level of competing effectively with the multinationals. I will say, as a Kenyan brand, even if you own a single petrol station, please do what you do best as an African. And you'll be surprised, you'll open the second petrol station and you'll be the level of Hass, and you'll be even exceeding that level and competing effectively with the multinational. So I don't think this market has reached a point where we'll say there's no space for the indigenous brand. There's so much for us. For me, I'm proud to lead a company that is 100%, locally owned or majority owned by indigenous African or Kenyan. And I look forward, you know, to giving a challenge to multinationals while mentoring, you know, the upcoming ones to be at our level and better. Yes.
Now we've just come out of one tough one, largely kind of come out of COVID. But then before everything settled, the Russian and Ukraine conflict. And we see that on the pumps and on the pump prices. How, as a business, have you managed to, one, go through the COVID situation? And what was the impact on the business? And the second bit is, how is the Russian-Ukraine conflict affecting your business?
Good one. So honestly, in every business there are challenges. And for me, I think it's tough because you've touched the two toughest challenges I came across. First, when I joined this company, I joined as the head of internal audit and later grew to become the head of finance in 2015. I was appointed as a CEO, what they call the hot seat, in late 2019. So if you remember, COVID happened, December is when we first heard of COVID 2019, and it was with us home here in Kenya by February, March, by May, I think, across Africa. And we're talking about, you know, no travels, restrictions on travel. So what does that mean? Fresh to a position that you're supposed to provide strategy and leadership to a whole group. And within no time, there was no movement within the country. I'm big in the aviation sector, as I mentioned to you. We supply fuel to many brands, including our own KQ and Jumbo Jets, this brand that are Kenyan, proudly Kenyan. So when all these guys are not flying, when you are not traveling to your village, when there is no movement between the border of Kenya and Tanzania and Uganda, then the product that I sell, which is fuel, you could just imagine whether there was a demand or not. So definitely there was a huge impact on our business. So for us, the first and the main thing was to secure what was first important for us. And as I mentioned to you, our people who work for us and our customers. By making sure that if there's any customer who needed our service, at least we are available to them. So the stations were not closed, even if we know there is no movement. And then number two, we've seen people downsizing and sending people away and salary cuts. That's not the direction we went. We actually went for the softer kind of expenses, you know, our marketing, and we made sure our people are first comfortable and safe and sound and working from home. You know, these kind of things, what was top priority for us, not necessarily profitability and so on. And the beauty or the good news was by sometime September, we already started now, you know, doing some business and breaking even if not at a country level, but at our global level, we were no longer making losses. And this is something that I have to highly commend our shareholders. They really stood with the company and the people, just to make sure that there is no much changes as far as our company is concerned. And for me, it was quite a learning moment. And as you mentioned, we came out of that, and we were, you know, happy that post-21, by 2021 or post-COVID, the whole economy was, rebounding and things were getting better. Then happened the Ukraine-Russian war. And a lot of people will ask, there's a war happening far away, how does it impact us? The reality is it had two impacts, and it depends which side of the coin you belong to. And I will talk about Africa. So if you are a country that is producing, whether it is oil, or it's copper, and so on, you are on the beneficial side. We've seen the prices of all commodities literally going up. Okay? Then you are countries like, say, Kenya. Of course, we are known for coffee, tea, and so on, but we don't have, a lot of minerals. We are more of a service kind of country. We rely a lot on tourism, and this is what people have cut. We are a huge exporter of flowers. You think someone will buy flour in Europe when they're already struggling with the basic thing, So we've seen the Ukraine-Russian war having huge impact, first on the product that we sell. It has jumped from, the barrel that used to be $80 those days to $140, $139, $140 per barrel. You can imagine that huge jump. Yeah? So this meant you as a customer who used to buy fuel here in Nairobi at 90 shilling, now it's at 140. Will you buy? Now the reality is it's not even at 140. The price of fuel today in Nairobi is supposed to be at 175, 180. And that's what a customer in Uganda is paying, almost 40 shilling above what Kenya is. So what does that mean? When it was 90, 60% of this were taxes. It used to go to the government of Kenya, and something I think we should be proud of, because that is how an economy is built. Maybe 40% was what was going out now to where we are buying the product, our profit margin, and so on. Today, the government that used to make about 60 shilling a litre, they're making as low as 20 shilling, because the government of Kenya now is giving you that subsidy of 30 to 40 shilling. So there is a reduction in how much the government is collecting. And when that happens, it means it is going to affect social amenities issues like provision of health, provision of education, and so on. But the most important part is that end consumer like yourself, the price is what, 180, 170. Now in economics, there is what we call demand destruction. When a product price reaches certain level, you will feel like, hey, it's not even worth it. How about I buy a bicycle, ride all the way to the office, I will have done my exercise, I will not have consumed this product, and then come back and so I am, as a business leader and in this sector, I feel like the prices are now almost nearing that level of demand destruction, whereby either the customers will reduce the total level of product they consume or the volume, or it will at time even reach at a point where they don't even consume that product and think of what is the alternative means. So it's quite of a challenge, but as I mentioned to you again, whenever a lime is thrown to you, you are the one to make the decision whether to say it's a bitter lemon or add some sugar and make a lemonade. So us is just with these challenges, how do we best make out of it and survive and make sure that this company is able to compete in the next level.
Looking forward, what are some of your major investment priorities as a business?
Good. So I mentioned the industry we are in is the provision of fuel. But for me to provide that fuel to the doorstep of the customer, there's the whole supply chain. Okay? When we say the supply chain, it will start from all the way the refinery. There's a vessel that carries the ship, or the ship that carries the product to the port Mombasa, port Dar es Salaam, and so on. So as a player, you start thinking, should I own a vessel or a ship to transport this? Once the product reaches port Mombasa, for example, let's take that example, or Dar es Salaam, which is a little bit different between the two, then there's a whole aspect of storage. Luckily, in a market like Kenya, the government of Kenya has invested quite huge in the storage and the piping infrastructure. Okay? So we have KPC. But when you go to Tanzania, it's not the same. So in Tanzania, when I realized the government has not really invested in a depot or a common user facility, we've invested in a depot. We have a 25 million depot capacity. So I'll take the example of DRC mine, and I want to deliver to that customer. So once the product is at the depot, the next question is there a pipeline between Tanzania to DRC? Then the question is no. So we've invested in our fleet of trucks. And luckily you can see one has branded trucks. We have invested fleet of trucks. We've called actually our sister company Fleet. where we've controlled about 300 plus trucks in Tanzania and 200 plus trucks in Kenya. The objective of these trucks is just to make sure that that product is lifted from Tanzania, cross the border of Zambia to Kasumbalesa to Lubumbashi, where we do most of our business. But once you reach there, again, we've invested storage or depots in DRC. Then we invested trucks locally in DRC to make sure that it's loaded from that to the customer. So the whole idea is, and quite huge or massive infrastructure has been invested, whether it is in station, to depots, to trucks, in all these markets where we operate. The whole objective is, how do we deliver this product on time to our customers as and when they need? Okay? And the other part of the company that I might have not mentioned to you is, in 2017, when we realized all these multinationals and the competitions, we thought about how do you survive in such a market. And we got a strategic partner or an investor, in this case Oman Oil. They used to be called OTI, now they renamed to OQ, and I think they are renamed again OQT. The most important part is, this is the government of Oman owned company. And as you know, Oman is a country with crude oil. They refine, and they used to initially serve just the requirement of the country, but nowadays they produce surplus to the requirement, and they're looking for how do they sell this product to other markets. One of the thought process they had is, how about we own a downstream company? And luckily, Hass was looking for an investor upstream, and here is another company or a country or individual thinking of how do I have a downstream business. They bought a stake in Hass Petroleum in the year 2017, 40% stake. With this, we are not just thinking on the 9 countries where we are in. In fact, the conversation normally with my shareholders and Oman is, how do we make sure we have dotted Hass petrol station all over Africa? And that's the journey.
That's a huge journey, and I can see it on the map that you look at as you walk into your office every day.
Yes.
That shows this nice view of Africa.
Yes.
Now, going forward, I think you've talked a lot about seeking out partnerships and all that. And one that is fairly interesting is you are maybe 5-6 months ago in Papa John's, the Pizza King.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Interesting.
And how that brings the whole experience around the petrol station.
Good. So this is what I mentioned to you. At any one point, as the CEO of this company, I am thinking is, what is in your mind as a customer? And if you look at the consumer behavior, we've seen a lot of transformation and change over the period. Few years back, when you want to buy supplies or groceries for your family, you used to think of the grocery or the shop right next to you. Then that changed, and then there was the whole hype of going to the malls. Yeah? So every time you want to do some bit of shopping, you meet with your friend and catch up, we used to go to the malls. Today, if I give you a call and say, let's catch up, you'll be, can we meet at that petrol station along that road? Oh, yeah. The question becomes why? It's not like you're looking for fuel. When you reach at that petrol station, you're looking for a one-stop shop whereby you'll meet your friend in that restaurant, grab your coffee, yes, or your favorite meal. And when you're done with the discussion, your mama has told you, please don't come home without the milk. So you go to the convenience shop, you grab the milk. Yeah. Our ladies, nowadays, we see more of them are financially more than able than even the men. They want to come park their car as the car is being washed, fuel full tank. They do their salon. And they think of that petrol station where they can get that one-stop services. So with this in mind, as a company and as a group, our thought process is not just within the fuel, but the non-fuel business. Yes. And then the question becomes, which is the best brand or the best pizza in the world? And without doubt, you'll tell me Papa John's, a US brand. Yes. When you talk about the chickens, we've got this UK brand called Chicken Cottage. Okay. If you've been to London, that is one you'll see in every corner. So as Hass brand, and I'm glad this is something now I can share with our customers, we've already signed partnership or franchise agreement with Papa John's, Chicken Cottage, to make sure that as you come to petrol stations of Hass, you don't just get the fuel, you don't just get the non-combustive composite cylinder, the LPG that I mentioned to you, with all these features that you can't get anywhere else, but you also go and grab the best pizza and the chicken and get the convenience shop right next to that, and have a one-stop experience when you come to our petrol station. So my word to my customers and my staff is, whenever someone walks into our petrol station, let us not give them service. Let us give them an experience that they will remember forever and ever and come back and again and again. Yeah.